Hello, healthy people, and welcome back to Organelle. Haemoglobin. The reason our blood is red, one of the biggest biological levers when it comes to energy levels, and the backbone of many a chronic health condition. Today, Lionel and myself explore this biomarker in depth. So, without further ado, let's take the best next step on our health journeys. Lionel, biomarker breakdown number 3. Here we are again, and today we're talking about hemoglobin, another crucial factor when it comes to our basic blood health. How are you today, man?
I am very well, thanks, Xavier. Been a while since we spoke, so I'm looking forward to today.
Yeah, me as well. Really keen to get into it. So, on that note, why don't we start with just a basic top level definition? Lionel, what is hemoglobin, as it might contribute to the layman, and what role does it play in our body?
Okay, so hemoglobin is it's a protein found in our red blood cells. It's what facilitates the transport of oxygen throughout the body. It's composed of four subunits. It binds to oxygen in the lungs. It releases it into tissues. It's got the iron containing structure that gives blood its red color, and it enables the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide for cellular reparation or repair.
Okay, it does a lot. What does that actually look like in terms of like top level outcomes? Is it just
So,
going to contribute to everything? Is it particularly
it,
important for energy?
look, it's really, really important. So, hemoglobin plays a really crucial role in the blood binding to oxygen in the lungs and releasing to body tissue. So, it ensures the efficient oxygen transport. It helps maintain the proper functioning of our organs and cells throughout our body. It's a really essential part of the body's um, ecosystem, for want of a better term, because it facilitates the transport of oxygen from the lungs to the tissues and the organs. It ensures the proper oxygenation of cells. It really supports energy production and, more importantly, metabolism. And the oxygen exchange process is really crucial for the survival and the optimal functioning of all of our body systems and functions.
So when we get a hemoglobin result on a biomarker test, what does that number actually mean? What's it talking about when it says like a 9, whatever the unit of measurement is?
Well, the measurement, the typical measurement for the hemoglobin is grams per litre, and the normal range is 125 to 175. And what happens if we've got low hemoglobin? That generally shows that there's been a decrease level of red blood cells, or a deficiency in the hemoglobin concentration, which we commonly refer to that as anemia. Um, it can come from a whole range of different things. Nutritional deficiencies, which we always talk about on our podcasts, is one. Chronic disease is another that can really impact it. Loss of blood, bone marrow disorders is another really significant factor. If we're looking at low hemoglobin, there's some of the areas that we should be really looking at. Um, what you will really notice if you've got low hemoglobin is that you'll see fatigue and weakness, shortness of breath. Really pale skin is another example. And then we have to then look at various different treatments to deal with these things. But if you've ever got concerns, and if you ever do get a blood test done and your hemoglobin is low, then it's really important that you meet with a medical professional and understand just what's going on. Conversely, high hemoglobin is a thing called polycythemia, and that's when we've got an increased level of hemoglobin in the blood, and this can be caused again by chronic illness, lung disease, kidney disease. These things always and can contribute to hemoglobin. Again, bone marrow disorders can also be a factor. When we've got high hemoglobin, it can lead to increased blood viscosity, and that can potentially increase, the risk of blood clots, and other cardiovascular problems as well. So, it is essential that we measure and understand our levels of hemoglobin because for, high or low, they can represent, some significant health issues, Xavier.
This is somewhat of a stupid question, but what color does our blood turn if hemoglobin is low? If hemoglobin's the thing that makes it red, what color
Yes.
does it go without the hemoglobin? Does it go white, blue?
No, that's a really good question. I've actually never seen the blood test result itself, so I'm actually not familiar. I can't answer that, but I will get an answer for you. But it is a very
Yeah,
good
I'd love
question.
to know because it sounds like something you could almost kind of eyeball it. You get your blood
Yeah,
drawn, you have a look. Oh, that's not very red.
yeah. I would assume it would be lighter, just off the top of my head, but
Mm.
I won't speculate. Let's get the proper answer rather than me mislead anybody. Um, I'd rather be able to answer that one 100% accurately. I'm not aware of too many people that really look at their blood and the color of their blood, but it's a good question.
I thought if anyone would be looking at their blood, it'd be you, Lionel.
I do, but I've never had low nor high hemoglobin because I eat so well and I train so consistently, and I'm always monitoring everything that I do. My blood's hemoglobin has never been an issue for me, neither high nor low. I'm one of the very fortunate people that's been able to maintain a very, very healthy level of hemoglobin. So, um, having said that, I have had heart disease, as you know. So perhaps I should have looked at it a bit more closely.
Okay, so you said something interesting there. You've never had high or low hemoglobin. You take really good health. You take really good care of yourself, so that doesn't say much. But what I'm wondering is how common is having an abnormal hemoglobin reading? If vitamin D deficiencies are really common and maybe lacking something is really uncommon, where's that?
Look, it is really quite common. We have a lot of really poor nutritional practices in Australia, and that has a real impact on our hemoglobin. So it is certainly far more common than people realise to have either high or low hemoglobin. We also have a lot of chronic health conditions in Australia as well. Particularly during COVID, and we're well beyond COVID now, but when COVID was about, people weren't eating really well. People were stressed. There was a lot of emotional eating going on. And certainly we didn't pay attention, nor could we pay attention to our health and well-being because, particularly here in Victoria, we were prevented from getting out and about. So, for a lot of people, their health and wellness suffered. And I am aware that, hemoglobin levels both increased and decreased in a lot of people throughout that period. So it's much more common than we would like, put it that way.
Okay, we've talked a lot there about how nutrition is a vital factor in regulating your hemoglobin levels. What specifically should we be eating slash not eating to try and maintain those?
Yeah, so always a balanced diet. Iron-rich foods and iron supplementation is really, really, really important. We need to make sure, and I always talk about it with you, Xavier, and it's something that I'm really passionate about with people. It's about making sure we've got that really good balance within our nutrition. Also, maintaining really good hydration. Hydration is really, really, really important when it comes to hemoglobin levels. It's something that we should really be very, very focused on. I'm always addressing this with people and clients that our levels of hydration generally in Australia are very, very poor. Um, but I will say this: people who are anemic uh, generally have a pretty good understanding of the fact that they do suffer from anemia. So they are much more aware of it and much more able to deal with it. But you know, as with everything that we always talk about on our podcast, Xavier, we should be really looking at the balance in our diet and where necessary, getting iron supplementation if we're low, or decreasing certain foods if we're really, really, really high. But again, that should always come back to a conversation that you have one-on-one with your healthcare practitioner or your nutritionist or a dietitian, because it's very much an individual thing. And from a management point of view, I very much like to work individually with people when they've got either high or low hemoglobin. We look at specifically what they're eating, when they're eating it, and what they're eating it with. And then we try and address that and bring that balance back into the diet.
Yeah, it's always crucial to get the actual tailored advice, for your unique situation. But it sounds like
Yeah,
you're not going to with the starting with iron-rich foods and increasing your hydration.
yeah. Look, it's there's everything that we do. I know we talk in very generic senses here on our podcast, but I really want to stress the importance and significance of addressing yourself as an individual, not taking generic advice, not just relying on Dr. Google or something like that. It's very much about understanding your full blood profile and health and wellness status, and then working on it very much at an individual level. I can't stress that enough for people. It's something that we should never take for granted. Our capacity to influence our own health and well-being, and as you know, one of my favourite sayings, Xaviour, is to become that active participant in your own health and wellness journey.
Absolutely. That sounds like a terrific place to leave it for me. Anything more you'd like to share, Lionel?
No, other than look, just be very aware. Be very aware of having balance in your day-to-day nutritional plan. Stay well hydrated, and never underestimate the value of being active.